But looking at the United States relations with Africa, it does seem like something always has been missing. And it seems like it's that thing that China has taken advantage of. China has succeeded in building that trust with African countries. Mm-hmm. I mean, we looked to China when the U.S. turned its back on us, when we wanted to buy weapons, and when we're faced with the Boko Haram crisis at a larger scale. At the end of the day, I mean, is there really a chance of these relations tightening in the next few years, perhaps?
I think it depends on the approach from the United States government. But here it is. It is very, very difficult for things to change completely in favor of the United States right now. Why? Who will even believe the Secretary of State, Tillerson?
Because of Donald Trump.
Because of Donald Trump. I mean, Tillerson is saying a different thing. Trump is saying the other thing. I mean, he's saying a different thing altogether. And then we've been told by Sarah Sandra Huckabee that his tweets are official policies. So Tillerson is making reproachment, and Trump is then saying, we don't believe in that reproachment. So it's going to be difficult. And don't forget, look, countries or continents will pander towards those they believe have their interests. Look at the Chinese, what they are doing in Africa. They're building deep sea ports, building roads, airports, and at the cheaper cost for the people. Yeah. So it's going to be difficult for the African continent to turn around. Look, as I speak to you, for the first time in more than 30 years, we still don't have Undersecretary for African Affairs appointed by Donald Trump. We don't have U.S. ambassador to South Africa. Trump has spoken with only 2 African leaders, the former president of South Africa, Zuma, and then our own president in February. So how are they even engaging?
By telephone, actually.
Yes, just by telephone. So how are we engaging? But the Chinese are reaching out. You go to Zimbabwe, they're in charge of the economy. Go to Sudan. In Nigeria, here, airport in Abuja is being built by the Chinese.
And they're making a huge investment in Africa. Sorry to cut in here, because China has planned over $60 billion worth of infrastructure for Africa. But Mr. Tillerson has said, he says China's approach to Africa has encouraged dependency through what he calls opaque contracts and predatory loan practices. And he says that, underlying all of these is corruption, which China has brought to Africa.
Well, it's not in the place of Tillerson to tell Africans what they should accept or what they shouldn't accept. What is in his place to do is to come up with the policy that will suit Africa from the United States of America. And the fact is, look, the Chinese can take advantage of Africans. If you are down and out, down and almost out, who cares about finesse? The U.S., of course, they have preyed on Africans for too long a time. And what is happening is that they are seeing another power rising to challenge their dominance in Africa. And of course, they should be worried. So I understand why they are worried. But this is not going to stop with just saying, listen, Africans, the Chinese are taking advantage of you. You have taken advantage of us for too long with nothing to show for it. Now, if the Chinese will take advantage of Africans and give us something to look at, because, the Africans will move towards the Chinese.
What do you think the relationship is like between us, Nigeria, and the United States?
It's at the lowest ebb. Very, very low. Of course, after the vote in the United Nations, where our president voted against the United States, Trump was alleged to have said, and you can't put anything beyond Trump, that he was going to teach our president a lesson and said kind of terrible things about our country. When he was talking about the immigration issue with senators from both parties. Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois quoted him as saying he would prefer to have immigrants come from Norway and Europe instead of Haiti and the shithole called Africa. So it's going to be difficult. We're in a tough place.
Yeah, but we didn't seem to be offended by that. I know Nigerians were.
No, a lot of Africans...
Many Nigerians were. Look, but it didn't seem like our own leaders were really affected by that.
They were. Paul Kagame, the current AU president, responded.
Oh, no, I mean about Nigeria, actually. I know the other African countries responded.
There were Nigerians who even celebrated it. Of course, again, I think that's consistent with the attitude of our president. You remember when Cameroon said Nigeria was fantastically corrupt.
Cameroon.
Cameroon. And the president jokingly said, well, I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
Give me the money.
Yeah.
That's what I've come here for.
The money's still
So,
there.
but again, even for the African leaders who protested, what did they really get from it?
So just very quickly, what do you think will come out of his meeting with our own leaders? I believe he'll be meeting with the federal government.
I think he would try to make the case that America do, in fact, care about Africa, and they have the best of intentions towards Africa. But whether African leaders will agree with him and then turn back on the trajectory which China has put them is another thing altogether.
Mr. Curtis Ajiba, always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stay with us on Diplomatic Channel. Still ahead, for International Women's Day, the British High Commission in Lagos hosts rights groups and stakeholders in the fight against sexual violence.